Hi mountain bikers, do you ever have back pain after you get in running, during your ride, or even during everyday life? Have you ever been told that you need to do core exercises to help support your back, but you don't actually know where to start? Well, today we're going to go over why your back needs the core support, why it needs that extra oomph, and we're also going to go over 3 different exercises to help you get started. Great places to understand how to use your core a little bit more efficiently and how to actually engage it the correct way, aka the way that supports your back the best. My name is Liz. I have my doctorate in physical therapy. I'm also a level 1 skills coach for mountain biking, and I run a company called The Ride Life. It's an online strength and endurance coaching program for women mountain bikers. This is all to help you get better, be stronger on your bike so you can ride and have more fun. If you're looking for more of a program to follow, check out the link here, and there's so many good things to help you from your home anywhere in the world. So let's get to it. For your back, why it's so important for you to have core strength. It's because of how we're kind of made up as a whole. Our trunk, as you can look at it, is more of a cylinder. We have a top, we have a bottom, and when I say top and bottom, we actually have 2 cylinders that make up our trunk. We have our bottom cylinder, which is our pelvic floor is the bottom part, our diaphragm is the top. We have our abdominal muscles that wrap around in the front, and we have our spine and some of our little small muscles that come off of our spine and our back that help us with our control of the lowermost part of our trunk. We also have an upper trunk cylinder. The bottom is the diaphragm, the top comes our neck muscles that attach to the ribs, and then what comes around to help support it are the ribs. And so as we look at support and control, you can see how these 2 cylinders now can either stack on top of each other, and you can be nice and strong support in there. You can also see how you can have a folding or lack of a bottom cylinder support. We have it this way for an extended back position, or you can have it where you kind of fold in and your front kind of folds, where we do more of our slouching. As you can see, this doesn't allow my top cylinder to have a good base of support. And so as we're biking, as we're looking at our support and our control for that, we need to think about our cylinder working together where we're getting that circumferential support. We don't need just our back to work because that's when we overarch. We don't need just our front to work because that can almost fold in, or it's not getting you that full rounding effect to support your back. And if we're not breathing right with our diaphragm, that's where our 2 cylinders connect, then we're not going to be able to use our core properly. Which is why some of you guys who are listening and watching to this video, you're like, well, I've tried core exercises and they haven't done shit for me. Well, it's because you probably haven't done them as correct or thinking about yourself as a cylinder. You've thought about your core as just the front muscles and not how it works all together. Also, what's super important for this is our top cylinder. Part of what supports our ribs are our shoulder blades, our upper back muscles. These guys right through here. And so if we don't focus strength through there, then we're not going to be able to support our low back to help with riding, to help with power, to help with longevity, and to help it not be overused and tight. When we get tightness in our low back, a lot of times it's the erector spinae muscles, the muscles that run up and down our spine, or our quadratus lumborum, the ones that kind of come off a little bit. That's what helps raises one hip or another and it kind of gives us our support. What our core is doing when we're on the bike and a lot of other times when we're lifting, it's trying to keep our back still, or it's trying to rotate our back in a nice even way that our spine actually approves and likes that motion. The reason why I say this is because our back and our trunk are not meant to be power muscles. That's why we have hips. Our hips, our glutes are made to be our power muscles. If you look at my glute muscles versus my back muscles, which one would you think would be power to give me up those hills, to do more of those technical rock and root sections, to have that ability to maintain and go forward? It's going to be more of my glutes. My back muscle is there to give me stability and traction. When we're on the bike specifically, we gain our traction from our core because our pedals are the things that we're trying to move. When we're on the ground, a lot of times we gain our traction from our feet because that's where our base of movement comes from. When we're on the bike, it changes because we need here to be still so we can push the pedal down to use more of our glutes more, to use more of our legs, and to also even out between glutes and quads. If we don't have this cylinder support, then a lot of times we'll either overuse and go into this posture of like a slouch, or we go into what I call the stripper booty posture. And it's almost where we're pulling on our bars to try to make that move happen. If you even just do that arched position, wherever position you are right now, you'll feel your back muscles kick in. Again, that's not a cylinder working for you. That's more of a one-sided thing of just those erector spinae muscles, or even your quadratus lumborum, your QL muscles, firing and triggering. We need to train you to where you use your support, we use your cylinder. So let's pop into the exercises that really focus on your cylinder as use to help you use and transfer that over to the bike. Our first exercise is going to be on our hands and knees. And this one I like because it's a little bit more simple. And a lot of times you can feel things differently when you're on your hands and knees versus when you are on your back, because you have a different input. Also, it's super handy for whenever you're going to be on your bike because it's kind of a similar position where you're learning and understanding how that core support, that cylinder, can help you with this control. As you use your core, you will feel more of like a wraparound effect, or what I call a corset effect. And that's what you're kind of looking for as you're doing this exercise, as you're doing all the exercises. Also, you can go flat hands on this. I go fist down just because I have a previous wrist injury that doesn't allow me to do that right now. So you're going to be hands and knees right now, kind of hands underneath your shoulders. You're going to get those shoulders down and back away from your ears, and then kind of tilt and move your pelvis so you feel your back be nice and flat. You don't want to overdo it where you're seeing that arched back, and you don't want to underdo it where you're getting more of what I call the stripper booty. And so you're going to be nice and straight through here, and that's all about that pelvis movement. This might be the main part of the exercise that you need to focus on, is how to control here to make sure you have a flat back. Because if you don't understand where that movement is, then you're not going to be able to hold that position for the rest of the exercise. So once you understand that, then you're just going to tap one shoulder and then tap the other shoulder. It seems like a super simple exercise, but it's actually really hard if you think about not moving the rest of your body. I don't want you to rock and shift as you're tapping through here, okay? I want you to keep nice and still and stable and tap. If this is easy once you're tapping, then extend out. Go more to kind of a kneeling plank position. Again, find your target and control. Your glutes should be relaxed. Don't clench your glutes to find and help with that stability. They should be pretty relaxed in this position. And then again, go back to your shoulder taps. This gives you that support, that control to resist the rotation that your body is going to need to help you with your support on the bike. What happens when you put down a pedal? You're resisting that rotation so you can actually use that leg properly. Okay? You're going to do those back and forth alternating, keeping your body nice and still. So from the front, how you would see it, nice and still, controlled. Don't let that body shift and rock. It's actually hard for me to see and allow that rotation, that rocking. There we go. And you see how that versus this, I have to focus and control a ton more. That corset, you should feel as it wraps around here even more so. You shouldn't feel your hip flexors working too much. If you do, tilt a little bit more into this position, and you'll engage more of those lower core muscles, those obliques, to help you with that stability and support. The next exercise that we're going to go over is a hip hinge. Now, a lot of y'all have heard about your hip hinge, but you think you're doing it right, but you probably have a little bit of nuances where you're not doing it all the way correct. So we're going to focus on that. You're going to be on your hands and knees again, And we're going to work on just you shifting and hip hinging and you feeling what's happening to your back as you're moving. So again, hands and knees, and you're going to find that nice flat back position through here. And then you're just going to shift your hips back. As you shift back, there's going to be a point where you can't shift back anymore and keep your spine still in that flat back position. You'll start to round because your hips will need to rotate and move. And then we'll move your pelvis, which will move your back. And so you'll feel when your back will start to round and you'll stop there and you'll come back forward. This should be a fluid movement, but at first you're going to be going pretty dang slow because you're going to be coming back and you're going to be like, am I rounded? Am I too much? What's happening here? And so you're understanding how to move from your hips and keep your back still. That's what this is. It's not hard physically. You maybe will feel like a 10 to 20% contraction of your core. Not much. This is how you understand movement patterning to help you with keeping your core nice and still as you move through your hip joints. Because if you don't understand that, then every movement that you're doing, you're going to be moving through your back and using your back muscle as your power muscle instead of your hip muscles as your power muscles. And so that's why it's super important that you understand how to move through your hips for this hip hinge. One thing that you can do to help you with feeling that is you place just a little weight on your low back or a water bottle. You find that position and you come back and you keep that weight there. If that weight starts to sag and starts to fall off, then that means that you've rounded your low back and you're not keeping that hip hinge. This isn't going to help you if you're going too much into stripper booty because it'll stay there no matter what. And so keep that flat back, come back, and if you start to round, it's going to fall off. Again, a water bottle, a lightweight can do that. It's a great cue to help you understand what's happening to your low back and what's happening to your hips. The last exercise in this grouping to help you with understanding your core support is a bent knee fallout. Again, this isn't a hard exercise. It's more of a learning how to use your core as a corset and letting your hips move separately. And so what this is more of a rotational movement for your hips while your core stays still. So you're going to slightly tip back your pelvis, engage those front core muscles. You're going to feel more of that oblique. You're going to feel again that wraparound effect, not feeling just mainly in these rectus abdominis muscles, kind of your six-pack muscles, but more out to the side. If you have trouble engaging those, take a deep breath in and breathe out really, really quickly. Or make a t sound, t, and that should engage those guys. Fire that engagement and relax. Engage on, relax. So you understand that. This should feel really similar to how you were on your hands and knees with that first exercise and that shoulder tap. So think about that control, think about that engagement that you're getting through here. Then once you got that good, you're going to slightly let one leg drop out and then come back in. Just do that side at first and practice that control because this allows your hip flexor, specifically your low back, to just relax and be supported by your front abdominal muscles in your core. As you do this, I don't want your glute to fire at the end because you'll want to fire that in to give you support from your glute. Your glute has other things it needs to be doing most times. It doesn't need to be a main support muscle for your low back. It is, but it doesn't need to do it all the time. And so we're looking in this exercise very focused of controlling our core so we can drop one leg out to the side, nice and relaxed and smooth. As you do this, you don't want your core to rotate, you don't want your trunk to rotate and lift up this other hip. You want it to be nice and still. And so this from the other side, you don't want it to lift up over here. You should feel as you engage 2 points of your pelvis that touch the ground. Try to keep those points of the pelvis same pressure on them as you move one leg out to the side. And so again, this now becomes a rotational resisted exercise by the weight of your leg that's dropping out to the side and allowing you to relax your hip as you go. And so it's resisting that rotational pull that your leg is now doing to you. As you can see, now that I've been moving and doing this, I'm alternating sides. That is harder for my brain to use my core to make it happen because now it's changing one side to the other side. You know what we do on biking? We use one side then the other side. And so it's good to practice that functionally when we're even doing the smallest of exercises. If this is hard for you, then raise your feet up and support it on like a stool or a couch, and then do that same thing from that. If this is easy and you want to work on the next level, then you come up to more of a tabletop and you hip hinge out, and you bent knee ball out one side then the other side. This is a much harder exercise, and it will engage your core even more for that. So to wrap it up, basically you need your core to work as a cylinder. You need your upper trunk, your upper cylinder, and your lower cylinder to work together. You don't want one folding and folding to help you support for your upper cylinder. You want that circumferential or that cylinder to hold you still. Your back muscles working with your front muscles. And so that's where all of your core comes in as a whole, even your pelvic floor, to help you and your breathing, to help you with your control of your back to support it so you don't get tightness. So you can use that stability and support for you to do those power muscles, for you to sustain those long hills and not feel like your back is just like, ugh, it's just really firing in. Use these 3 exercises. They're not physically that demanding. They're more mentally demanding because we're teaching you how to move a little bit differently. We're teaching you how to actually activate different muscles through your brain more consciously that will then become more subconscious later on as you do even more exercises to help you. But these are great places to start to help you understand that without firing up your low back, without firing up your hips, and to help support them as you do these movements. Because we need to step back, help you do those movements to step forward. Same thing that you do on the bike, on the trail, is that you don't do the most challenging thing as you're trying to learn. You step back, you work on some of the base mechanics of it, of that move, of that skill, and then you work up towards more of that main goal, that main obstacle that you want. If you have trouble riding through roots, what do? You don't go to the hardest root section, you go to an easy root section. This is your easy root section to practice on. This is how you understand the movement mechanics, your brain to body connection that you need to help support yourself. If you are looking for more program to tie into this, the Core Crushers program that I have is a great way to step up to the next level. Or if you're looking for how to combine this to full body program for a workout, the Ride Life team is a great program to work towards and to work into to help with that full body support so you feel stronger on the bike and so you can ride longer and have more fun. I hope this gave you some helpful tips. Subscribe if you want to see more of these things and like down below. Thanks, y'all.